Today on Locked On Red Wings, Dylan Larkin scores 2 again as Detroit beats the Canucks in Vancouver for their first win streak since November 25th.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And the Red Wings won big in this game on Monday night over the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver, winning 6-1 for their first winning streak since November 25th. But, guys, before we can even talk about the game, I think it's only appropriate that we take a moment to, say that our thoughts are with all the victims in East Lansing in regards to the shooting that has taken place at Michigan State. This game was going on while the situation in East Lansing was developing. A horrifying situation that this continues to happen. I mean, there were people who graduated from Oxford late 2021 that are now students at MSU going through this again. And it's just horrifying that this has to continue to happen. And, it's not enough anymore to say thoughts and prayers. But at this time, Scotty, that's unfortunately all you and I can do is extend those thoughts.
Yeah, it's I'm sure everybody who's a fan of this team has some sort of connection with that university, and so many loved ones and whatnot have viewed or lived in that campus and viewed it as a very safe place, and for that to be broken and that kind of trust to be broken like that is devastating beyond words. So definitely, as you said, hearts are with everyone, and that's about what we can do right now.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of anger is, I guess, the best word I can put towards it right now, is the nicest way I can put it right now.
Yeah.
About how this can continue to happen and nothing can change. But that is a topic for people who are way more well-versed in a situation than us. But for the time being, we'll just continue to pray for those who are victims of this, that have, are still fighting the battles. And for people who unfortunately did pass, hopefully the families can find some peace of mind at some point. It's going to be a long journey, but
for sure.
Thankfully, on another note, hard transition from that, but we do it anyways. The Red Wings did win 6-1 over the Vancouver Canucks, back-to-back wins over the Canucks. They scored 11 goals, Scotty, against the Canucks in these two games. And in the course of this three-game win streak, which they have not had a win streak since November 25th, fun fact, like that was 3 games or more, because some people say like 2 games in a row is a win streak. I don't count that. 3 games and more is a win streak. They have not had a 3-game or more win streak since November 25th. Thankfully, Vancouver's really bad at hockey, and it's decided to give the Red Wings a push. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the Red Wings have lost to plenty of bad teams. But, I mean, this was a huge win in my eyes for this Detroit Red Wings team, as they've now scored a total of 13 goals in the 3-game win streak and only allowed 4 in this 3-game win streak. I mean, it seems kind of obvious, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. What was the number one factor, Scotty, that led to this overwhelming victory for the Red Wings?
Yeah, it really is hard not to just continue to point at Vancouver's goaltending. And, we talked about it going into this back-to-back, right, this home and home, how Vancouver, yes, they have a terrible goaltending situation. Yes, the Wings are probably going to put up a lot of goals, but also that their offensive numbers are not bad. Like, this is not a slouch of an offensive team. And yes, they traded away probably their best offensive talent, and that's totally fair. But there's still some weapons on this offense. There's still some capability on this offense. So much more so for me than the amount of goals we've scored in the win streak, because 2 of them were against like the worst goaltending situation in hockey, is the fact that there's only been 4 goals against in that stretch.
Yes.
I think that is much more of a positive against two teams that are, again, not slouches offensively. We're not going up against the Lightning or the Leafs or anything right now, but it's still, these are still two solid offenses and have put up goals this season. So that's, I think, the bigger takeaway for me than the goals scored, just because of the situation in net for Vancouver.
I mean, Elias Pettersson, I almost called him Elias. Elias Pettersson has over 60 points already on the season. I mean, he is a stud. And JT Miller, his production is still pretty high, regardless of the other antics that goes on the ice with him. So they, like you said, they definitely are an offensive threat. Surprisingly enough, though, Scotty, with how bad this defense looks on a day-to-day basis from what we usually see. Now, I feel like this win streak, maybe we've been a little bit overly critical. It's hard to tell. The game against Calgary, they played fantastic defense. It was fantastic. The first game against Vancouver felt a little bit like a step backwards. This game against Vancouver, the one that just happened, felt like it was pretty even struggle, and they did a pretty good job overall. And when it comes to expected goals against, the Red Wings are actually like middle of the pack in the league. It's expected goals for where they struggle. It's kind of wild that we watch it and it feels like they're super bad. And then by comparisons to other teams in the league, they're actually right in the middle of the pack. But that's a different conversation for a different day, where we can really break down how effective
we talk
defense
about
is.
the way this defense is formulated, though, right? We talk about the quality versus quantity thing, and I know that stats like that take that into consideration, but at the end of the day, this defense has never been a defense that's given up 30, 40 shots a night. This is pretty consistently a defense that's given up somewhere in the mid-20s. It's just that 8 of the 24 are like high danger, and so that's kind of been the result of a lot of it. But this game was kind of on par for the course for that. But Ville Husso was great. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. And I do think that the defense, all of that being said, actually looked pretty solid. I thought that there were a couple of moments, maybe like 5-10 minute stretches in the game, that I think Vancouver had a lot of momentum. But I thought that there was also a lot of really good, specifically neutral zone defense. Maybe that was it. When Vancouver was set, they still were able to get in front of the net at maybe at will is maybe a little too dramatic, but pretty easily still. But I think that the Wings played pretty good neutral zone defense in this one. I think that really showed pretty often throughout the game.
Well, there was one player on this team that I would like to give a lot of the credit to for why this team won, because he got them off on the right foot, and that would be the captain, Dylan Larkin, who came flying out of the gate, Scotty, in this one. He had 2 goals in this one. Again, back-to-back nights where he has 2 goals. That is now 5 goals in the last 3 games. That puts him back at a 30-goal pace for the season. That was his 20th goal in the season and 50th point on the season. And he clearly is trying to earn that contract, because even before he scored that goal, he was weaving his way through the Vancouver defense like it was Swiss cheese. He looked like, I think Prashant tweeted out that it looked like a Nathan McKinnon-esque game from Dylan Larkin, the way he was just gliding.
Flying.
And, the first goal was a beautiful shot, and the second goal was a power play feed, which does not happen. I mean, granted, he initiated the play by, again, flying through that defense. But then it doesn't happen if Tyler Bertuzzi doesn't go back behind the net on the power play and forecheck and force the turnover pass to Robby Fabbri to feed Larkin backdoor. I mean, Tyler Bertuzzi has found his game and comes at a really convenient time, because he is without a doubt getting traded away at the deadline. But we're going to enjoy the last 2 weeks of Tyler Bertuzzi as a Detroit Red Wing nonetheless, because when he is on, he is exactly what we talked about for so long, is he facilitates offense so well. But back to Dylan Larkin. We're singing his praises. He looks like a man on a mission right now. The contract bump year to your stats is a real thing, and it shows.
Yeah, I think we just give him 1-year deals for the rest of the time.
I don't think he would accept that.
Keep motivated, baby. Yeah, no, obviously that's not a thing. I'm kidding, but certainly, I don't ever like to question professional athletes like heart, or like, oh, like he is trying harder now. I don't really like doing that. I think a lot of them, especially guys of that caliber, like give their all pretty much every night. But it's definitely incredible timing just from a fan and viewership perspective, just to watch and be like, wow, that's kind of funny just because of, how the situation at hand with the extension and whatnot. So definitely very, very entertaining timing, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We got so many other guys to get to. Rasmussen was wearing the A. That's exciting. And then, I don't know, all the other goal scorers, because it seemed like everybody was getting in on this game. So we'll get to that and more. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. It's the midway point of the NBA season, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because now customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss out. Don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet on up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are breaking down the 6-1 win over the Vancouver Canucks. Man, can we also just take a second, Scotty, and just enjoy this? When was the last time the Wings not just put together one, but two performances where you heavily outscored an opponent? And this one, more so than the last one, felt like a domination. The last one, we talked about how it's poor goaltending. You didn't really play a great game, but their goaltending was super bad. I thought the Red Wings were right there with the Vancouver Canucks and outperformed them in a lot of regards, at least offensively speaking, for the majority of this game. They felt like the team that wanted to win this game more, in my opinion, and it showed. And I just want to take a moment and soak in how nice of a feeling it is to be on this side of a 6-1 blowout for once. Their goal differential in the season went from -14 to -9 after this game. I mean, it's so nice. Single
It
digits,
is.
baby.
Yeah. I said that yesterday, didn't I? Didn't I say, when we were breaking down the game, I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of, I just really want a game in which it's low stress and we just win and it's start to finish. Like, it's a super easy game to talk about. And we just talk about how we were the better team and that's it. And then sure enough, boom. So I'm taking partial credit,
I
but
think it might have been at the end of the Calgary game because we previewed the Canucks, and that's when you may have said it. I think it
maybe.
might have been that.
Regardless, I didn't say it very long ago and now it's here. So you're welcome, everyone. But yeah, no, it
Okay.
certainly it feels like every single game this year has either been, we talked about it really over the last couple of games, even with the wins. Like, we've talked about how every game is either a loss or it feels like a game in which the Wings got outplayed and they still, oh, we're outplayed 5-on-5, but we got the victory. Or, oh, like Ville Husso had to carry and will this team to victory. Like, it was really nice just to have a game that was super low stress and they were just clearly were in charge and in command from puck drop until the final horn.
Well, and what's interesting too is the Canucks did have the edge in shots, not by a huge sum. 30 shots to 23 was the official total. They won the vast majority of the faceoffs, 25-19, and they out-hit the Red Wings. But when it came to generating actual legitimate chances, the Red Wings did a better job at it. We talked about the quality versus quantity game, and the Red Wings got some luck. I think Canucks hit 3 posts in this game, but it's fine. You know what? I'm not going to sweat that stuff today, because today I'm just going to enjoy, again, the fact that they were on the giving end of a blowout. And it just, Ville Husso played really well again, and that's his 3rd straight game of posting an insane performance. His save percentage in this one, Scotty, was .967, while allowing just 1 goal on 30 shots against, for a goal saved above expected of 1.98 in this game, which is great. He saved almost 2 extra goals just by being an astonishing goaltender. Meanwhile, Delia negative 3.56 goals saved above expected. So again, guys, we're not trying to use this as like, this is why they scored 6 goals, but it was what? It was Spencer. No, what was the guy's name in the Martin? Spencer Martin in the game on Saturday, and he had like a negative 3.5. And now Delia had a negative 3.5 goals saved above expected. That's not good. That is awful. But regardless, Husso on our end played out of his mind again, made some really big, timely saves to keep the Red Wings in it. And so that bumps his save percentage on the season back up towards where you want it to be as he continues to reclaim his game. He's been great.
Absolutely. 100%. And the just as much as we talk about in these last 2 games, the goaltending being such a reason as to why the Red Wings won. That was really weird. In my head, I literally almost said Pistons, then I almost said Tigers, and then I was like, no, this is the Red Wings. That was really a rough go. It's very late.
You know what's funny is it sounded perfectly normal, so no one would have known you had those intrusive thoughts if you hadn't have said it.
I know, but I'm transparent. Okay, I'm just full.
He wears his heart on
all
his
the time.
Giovanni Smith sleeve.
Yes, this is my Giovanni Smith sweater for those watching on YouTube. So we have talked a lot, right, about how Vancouver's goaltending is really bad, and that's why the Wings were kind of able to dominate like they did over the last 2 games. But just in that same breath, as you mentioned, you know, Husso was great again, and that's several great games in a row for him. And we talked about going into this West Coast road trip. Goodness, that
It's late.
that he was probably going to get a night off at some point this week, and I mean, with days off in between each game, that it's looking really tough. Like I still think he's going to, and I still think they'll do it just because of kind of the treacherous schedule they've had since the break. But like I don't know, man. It wouldn't shock me at this point if they just said, you know what, you are too hot to bench. We're just gonna keep throwing you out there.
No, I completely agree. I think that I'm adamant that he will be getting one of the 2 days off on the back-to-back. I imagine he'll probably start the first game, then they'll give him the second day off so that he can play Saturday. If that's just my internal logic, I have no facts to base that or back that up. Also, speaking of back-to-backs, that's when Lalone said they hope to have Raymond and Waldman back as one of those 2 games. So hopefully that rings true, because if the team's clicking like this without those 2, I can only imagine it'll get better with those guys.
Right.
There's so many other players we can talk about, Scotty. Do you want to talk? Suter had an assist in this game. Since 2023 has started, there's only one defenseman with more assists on the season of the year 2023, and that's Erik Karlsson. Suter has the second most assists since the year started, which is a little bit of a cherry pick stat, but I still like it. It fits the narrative. We take it. I mean,
we all play narrative ball, baby.
Well, like early in the season, we talked about how Sherratt was weighing him down, and that was a reason for his sophomore slump. And to a degree, that was true. And Sherratt's been playing a much better game recently. But these last 2 games, he's been paired with Sherratt, and he hasn't lost a step. He still looks really good. Now, granted, his chemistry was still better with Wallman, and I'll stand by that, with the way they feed off each other offensively. But he hasn't necessarily lost a step individually now paired with Sherratt. And he had, again, like I said, another assist in this game. And he just continues to impress, looking like the Calder winner from last year.
100%. And, I think that this uptick, if it lasts throughout the rest of the season, is really going to, I don't want to be like overly dramatic and be like, oh, it is going to save, the narrative that a lot of people had on Suter going into the season, or in the early part of the season rather. But I do think that this, assuming it lasts, is really going to put a lot of people at ease that were starting to get a little fidgety in the first half of the season when talking about Suter. But I mean, Berggren, have we talked Berggren yet?
We have not.
I mean, that's another young stud that had a great game, man. And he just continues to be so fun to watch on the ice. I mean, dare I say, like the most fun player to watch on the Wings right now. I think he's in that conversation at least.
Oh, I don't think that there's any argument on that one. And I want to talk about Jonathan. What did they decide on? Did they say
Well,
Jonathan?
they said Yanni
Jo-
Burgers.
Yeah, but today they like officially and the broadcast they asked him, and I
Oh, I
think he said
completely
Jonathan
it was
or Jonathan. Either way, he
yeah,
doesn't care.
I had the broadcast muted. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow, fake fan. But when we come back, we'll talk about Jonathan Berggren. But first, Berggren. It's whatever you want it to be. Honestly, guys, names are a construct, social construct. They don't actually exist. They're just sounds your mouth makes. But first, got to talk to you guys today about Athletic Greens. Smooth transition. Our next partner has a product you got to use literally every day. Start taking AG1 because with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all those things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Compare that to the $100 a day you could be spending on any other complicated supplement routine. Athletic Greens also has 7,000 five-star reviews recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, let's talk about Johnny Burgers. And that's now, he scored again in this game. Again, backdoor. He just keeps sneaking backdoor. They don't ever find him there.
He's
But
too
it
quick.
was a
Quick
fantastic feed from Joe Veleno and Phil Peronic for the 6th and final goal. They had an extra man on the ice at the time, if I do recall correctly. It was a delayed penalty, and they just played tic-tac-toe in the Vancouver Canucks defensive zone. And until they found Burgers back door, and he buried it. And that's 3 goals in 2 games, and he's on pace for a 20-plus goal season. And when you take into account that this season started for him later than it did like all the rest of the players, that's even more impressive that he's scoring at this clip. And if I don't want to overreach and overextend my take here, but if he had started the year with the team, do you think it's a stretch to say he might be in the Calder conversation? Not like 1 or 2, but maybe like 4 or 5?
Yeah, I don't mind that take. That's the first time hearing of it. I don't mind it. I have to kind of digest that one, but I don't mind that take. I think that he has. I mean, we talk about it all the time. He has just shown so much promise, and the biggest thing really with him is the ceiling is still being debated by everyone all the time, and that will continue to happen probably for the foreseeable future with him. But he set his floor so high so quickly. That's the intriguing part, right? Like everybody's going to have a different opinion about the ceiling and how good he could potentially come, but just because he got acclimated to the NHL so dang fast, it really seems like the floor is just so much higher than it is for so many prospects. Like even if he's never a top line guy or even a bona fide like top 6 guy, like you have a guaranteed middle 6 productive forward for the foreseeable future is what it feels like, and that just feels great. So yeah, I don't mind that take though. I really don't. I can maybe get behind that.
Maybe he'll get slid a
I think
couple
we could
votes
find
here and
some
there.
narrative ball stats to really drive that one out.
Start cherry picking their stats. Be like, this is why he should be your favorite.
Right,
Let's
exactly.
be honest right now. Nah, man, Matty Beniers is insane.
Michigan
man, lots of those in the league right now. A lot of them came from the same team. Crazy. Let's see. We got to talk about Rasmussen wearing the A. I love that. I love that so
wild, wasn't it?
much. So he and Perron were the A's, which did that mean Sherratt didn't have one? I did not look.
I
Did they rock
I didn't
A's?
notice that either, honestly.
Well, and like at the start of the season, they were rotating the A's. Remember, it was Perron, it was Sherratt. who else was wearing them? I don't even remember.
Didn't Mo get it for a game?
That was
game?
preseason.
Oh, you're right.
I'm talking regular season. I think it's been mostly just Perron and Sherratt for the majority of the season.
They cycled them though. Because there was like the thing where they were cycling them through. Like other people, did Bert maybe? No, I genuinely don't remember, but they definitely did cycle them through early on, and it was kind of for the first week or so. Like there's different people wearing them, but yes, lately it's mostly been that.
But I mean, Rasmussen getting the A was more than just here you go playing in front of your family.
Awesome.
Like he has absolutely earned that A this season with his play. I mean, he has taken his game an incredible step forward, and I don't think there's any argument on that. But also the fact that there have been reports that people have been asking the coaches, like, I want to play with Michael Rasmussen. I think when you hit that point, you're a pretty vital member in that locker room. When players on every line are like, hey, can we have Ras on our line? That means that you're pretty tooly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, he had a goal or he didn't have a goal. I'm sorry. He had 2 assists in this game, and it was controversial whether he got that goal, but he had 2 assists in this game on the one on the Robby Fabbri goal and the other one on the Gustav Lindstrom goal.
Is that his second of his career? Is that what you said?
Second career goal for Gustav Lindstrom.
I remember talking about his first on this show last year.
Yeah, against the Wild.
Yeah, I remember that. That's funny. Yeah. So there you go. Number 2.
And then, of course, Pius Suter with the other goal. So there you go. There's all your goal scorers. You had Larkin with 2.
Had a good game tonight, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, if you want to look at, we haven't even talked about Corsi for percentage or expected goals for percentage.
You made it a whole show without talking about your 2 favorite stats, dude.
Well, because there was just so much individual thing, like accolades to go around. But if you look at this advanced analytically wise, it'll tell you that the Red Wings got outplayed in the third period. But really, that's only true in the last 5 minutes of the third, because Red Wings scored 3 goals in the third and stopped trying. Right. In the first and second period, they had the edge in Corsi for percentage. The Canucks played really well in the first 5 minutes of the second period as well. The Canucks had like 5 minutes in each period where they looked decent. The Red Wings dominated the rest of them. And then if you look at the individual performances, it's a lot of the same. You have about half the roster above 50% and half below. But it's Scotty, it's that expected goals for percentage where things start to look interesting.
Yeah, well, Robby Fabbri had put up 80% expected goals for percentage, I'm pretty sure. Michael Rasmussen put up 73. Andrew Kopp had a 72%. Robert Hagg, shout out the dog, Robert Hagg with a 70%. Gustav Lindstrom with a 59%, almost a 60%. So yeah, like it's still about half the roster over and under. And we talk about how those possession stats don't tell like a full entire story. Like Dylan Larkin's was one of the sub 50s, but it speaks a lot to the neutral zone game, and it speaks a lot to obviously just how many opportunities you are giving up when you are on the ice. And it's really cool to see. I mean, that top 4 there of all over 70% is crazy. And Fabbri, Rasmussen, Kopp, and Hagg, and Fabbri obviously hitting 80% is pretty nuts. So,
yeah. So the second line definitely needed that, especially I think Andrew Kopp was still struggling to find his game, I feel like at times. So Robby Fabbri, Rasmussen, Kopp doing all that. And you know what? I'm biased. I'm going to give all the credit in the world to Michael Rasmussen. I'm going to say it was because of him, even though the entire line had to play. But I'm going to just let my bias show. Michael Rasmussen with the A, man, unlocked a superpower.
I love it.
That's the story. I mean, they got Calgary or Edmonton next. Who's the first in the doubleheader? They play one of those 2 teams coming up here on Wednesday. I don't know. Where are you looking?
Do you hear that?
I heard of something.
There's an animal right on the other side of this wall. And it's very much trying to get in through this wall. Very distracting.
I hope it gets you.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. But yeah, hey, good game. Win streak, 6-1. Dylan Larkin, 5 points in 3 games. You love to see it.
You do. Yeah, absolutely you do.
Any final thoughts?
We ball. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. I'm very tired. I'm going to go to bed now.
Me too.
So,
man.
Same time, same place. It's your team. every day.
Every day.